if I want to play Monopoly or Snakes and Ladders, well, I want to have a look. What's the object of the game? How many players are there in there? What am I supposed to do? And then decide whether I even want to play the game. But it's like we've forgotten the script. But the script is everywhere. It's just it looks hidden, but it just reveals itself. This is the year of revelations. Nothing external. It's inside. You just feel it. This is beautiful. It's only just started. This is it. And what are the chances, Stephen and Claire? Stephen has been to that very area of Portugal and he's dying to get back over there. So this is perfect. Claire's all for it, so they won't be far behind. It's like, yes. So they've got good energy, really good energy.
And really stoked about getting them here, and so is the rest of the community. They're going to be such an asset. And my good friend Marcus, he's going to buy some land before the end of the year, and he wants to grow herbs and have a healing center there eventually. And he might buy the land adjacent to where we're staying now, even. So much is happening.
Perfect. Yeah, I think the first thing when I get there is work out what skill sets have we got, what we're deficient in. Is there someone who can do sewing? Is there somebody who can cook? Is there somebody who can grow? And then ask everyone, what do you like doing? What would you like to do? Because nobody wants to do something I don't want to do. So tailor the different activities to what people are interested in, and then we'll find out what's missing, what we still need there. But it'll come anyway.
Right. And it's perfect.
Yeah. It's a conversation we were having in the background over the past week, James and I, as far as and it's something that I've always had in my mind as a forefront, which is no coincidence that we met anyway, was the whole concept of creating a community of wellness retreat center, a place where people can come and contribute as well as heal. Like, it's not a just show up and do whatever you want. It's it's receptive. It's, I come with these gifts and this is what I can contribute. And I need also something in return to work through my healing. This has to be an established foundation of, this is a place where you contribute as well as receive. And it's a result of your willingness to show up with what you have to offer. And it's to draw out of people their gifts as opposed to impose upon them something that they have no clue or they've never actually done. Because ultimately you want boots on the ground that are people who have already established they have done something in that realm, or have that drive, that demonstration of the ability to start and continue with something that they start, right? Murray's a great example of that, having met him and been over there. He's such a he's such a sweetheart. I love Murray. He sometimes, he's got amazing stories, and he's got amazing, like, he's a sponge. And then the next moment you can see he goes into a dream state, and it's just really like sweet to watch the inner child at play. And so you've already got a lot of people interested, and it's just the what do you call it? The taking the, it's so funny. What's coming to mind is the, what is that? There's a melange of flavors of personalities and gifts that are coming together to create this scenario, the situation. And as we've been talking about, time is speeding up. It's very clear. It's just, where is your mind and the focus? So it's really important that people get really clear on, where is my mind? Am I focused more in the negative or the positive? And when you do catch something where you're tripped up and you are in your negative mind, because you have three minds. You have a negative mind, a positive mind, and a neutral mind. If you are stuck, it's supposed to take you 9 seconds to come to a decision. If you spend more than 3 seconds in either one of those minds, then you should not take action or try to make a decision, because that shows where your imbalance is, and you need to focus on, like, bringing it out. So when we're in indecision, that's actually the universe keeping you from making one, or at least trying to hint it to you, that it is not the time to make that decision. Us humans, we've been conditioned to always be on the go, to never slow down and recognize there is no rush to be anywhere. That's just been a part of our conditioning and our programming. Go, go, go. I'm a recovering workaholic, so I know this very well. And when you're in the chronic fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, when you're in that stress response, you're chronically, constantly on the go. You're feeding that cortisol into your system. You are weakening. You are wearing down your nervous system, your immune system, all of your body. In reality, you're not as effective as if you were to just take it down a notch, slow it down. But because so many are in that, they don't realize they're in an addictive habit and pattern. And so when they come into these environments and they don't know how to assimilate, to adjust themselves, the flexibility, the fluidity, the adaptability of an environment that is unfamiliar, like it takes a lot of like self-awareness to walk into a space and go, oh shit, you know what? This might not be right for me, because the mind doesn't want to admit failure or defeat. So if it can't do something, it doesn't want to say it can't, or that it won't acknowledge it. It will go into, I know it all, or something to enable it to keep it in that space of I'm in control. So you're always going to come across these personalities to test you, to see your resilience in certain circumstances and situations. And so I love that you're doing what you're doing, because it is really, really courageous to step into that position. And I was saying to James before, I said, Julia is really she's coming out, coming from one situation and into this one. It's like I just imagine like your Wonder Woman heart opening up. Here's my shield, and I'm just beaming it out there and seeing what comes at me. And I'll take it and deal with it when it does. And now you got James coming in, your magician, Merlin is coming in to bring up, to foster that energy, to support it. And all of us here to keep the vision, because we know that this is pure and this is coming from your heart, because of your purity of knowing that this is something you needed. This is what we do. We do something because we needed it at a time in our life. That's why we want to bring that to others. And there are others that will find you because of that. So again, when we come into these community environments, it's really important to always remember that we come from different backgrounds, that we can relate to somebody, but we can never truly know the other until we've known ourselves. And also to know with compassion with ourselves that each individual experience, upbringing, background is going to contribute something different. And, like I recognize, even for myself, we say, oh, well, that's just common sense. But, nothing is common. Nothing is common because we don't have really anything fully in common other than maybe an idea. But the actual fruition of that idea looks different for everyone. So it's a lot of humility and humbleness to step back and go, oh, I got in a situation. But then it's the courage muscle that you exercise that keeps you in that stance and strong. You're going to be supported once you make the choice and you step up and you call it out with love and from the heart. And I already know you're doing that because it's testing you, because this is, of course, everything that you are meant to do is going to test you. So we're here, hands up, cheering you on.
Awesome. And it's totally working. Go ahead, Hugh.
Sorry, I've got a couple of things that are interesting. Yeah, both of what Lana said and before that, James. So what you said, Lana, about after 3 seconds, that's it. Is it? You mean the awareness takes 3 seconds to pick up what the mind's doing, where it's taking you? Is that what you mean? So it's
if someone comes at you and they offer a situation, someone says, I need you to do such and such. What do you think? What, they're looking for either, it could be any life situation where you have to make a choice. You have to respond, just anything. In the Kundalini tradition, we talk about the 10 bodies, and you have 3 minds that comprise those 10 bodies. So you have the negative mind, this is how the mind processes. It immediately starts out in, something comes in, your negative mind drops in. Then it's the positive mind. And then the neutral mind takes those two and it formulates, okay, the negative mind sees the worst case, the positive mind sees the best case. The neutral mind says, okay, what is the foundation of these two, and what is real and true? And then it processes it through those three minds. It should only take 3 seconds in each of those, which consists of 9 minutes total. 9 seconds, sorry, not minutes. If it takes you more than 9 seconds to come to a conclusion or a decision, that is showing you need to let it go or take some time to step back, that you are not going to have an effective response to that situation. It could be too irrational because you may be getting emotional about it, which causes you to get stuck in the negative mind. Or you could even be the Pollyanna that says, I'm so excited, which is me a lot of times. Everything from doing renovations and going, yes, somebody's showing up to help me, just do it. And then going back and going, oh, shoot, there's some things that need to be adjusted because I wasn't paying attention because I got so excited about the situation. All of those contribute to, okay, did I get too caught up in the negative, negative Nancy over here? This is never going to work. Or did I get too caught up in the Pollyanna? It's a love and light and it's going to happen just the way I want it because I'm supported and the universe is taking care of me. I mean, there are moments where we are our own defeater, not the universe. And then the negative mind and the neutral mind is going to basically go, okay, thank you for contributing the positive and the negative. And then I can weigh the options, the balancing, what is going to bring the two into balance. That's why you have a neutral mind. Again, like I said, if it takes more than 9 seconds, it's just showing you're not ready to handle the situation. Don't be rash. Don't rush. Maybe put it on the shelf if you can for later. Write it down, whatever comes up, and then a lot of times we don't have, or we don't think we have the time to do this. It really benefits us to slow down. I mean, I can talk a mile a minute because I'm just used to that. My mind's always so ahead of myself. But sometimes even for myself, I'm like, okay, slow down, get your words, formulate them properly. There's no rush to be anywhere. We humans, again, we think we have to be go, go, go. And it's like a fear of missing out. It's the FOMO. It's the, if I don't do this now, when, but at the same time, there's the irony of how so many of us, we don't do. And then we go, why didn't I do? So we're always trying to play the balancing act in between all of the craziness being thrown at us, as well as the things we throw ourselves into. So it's just being clear, and it's the mindfulness. It's that balancing act of being aware of where our thoughts are, recognizing our internal programming, bringing the unconscious to the conscious. That's why we sit and meditate. That's why we do reflections. That's why we journal. Oh, wow, look at that. I'm in my negative mind again. I'm going and ruminating over a situation or a story. Or maybe one of the reasons it takes more than 9 seconds for you to come to an idea is because a memory popped up and that memory brought you down that crappy place, that space of, don't want to be here, So it's really that every time something comes up, pay attention, because literally you are paying with the currency and the frequency of your thoughts for every experience. If your mind is caught up in down that negative trail, find ways to find gratitude. Wow. Even just the gratitude and awareness of, look at me, look at my mind. Wow, here I go again. I'm down that monkey mind road. Here we go. And then it's like, you know what? I'm grateful that came up, because now I'm aware that that's what's been running on in the background. It's the program of my situation, my life, to where I can go, I'm really grateful to see that, because seeing that makes me aware of where I want to go, what I want to feel, what I want to focus on. James and I have been talking a lot about, all the world's a stage. And I said, you are Merlin, you can perform magic. You can be, and you can choose your creation in this life. So why aren't you choosing the person you get to be, as opposed to being, most of us, not all, but most of us are still telling the disempowering story of what happened to us, playing the victim role. My life, because I can't do this because I have an injury. The worst is when a doctor tells you you shouldn't do something because you injured yourself, when in reality, you should be able to come back 10 times stronger as a result of an injury, because the injury makes you aware of where you have a weakness in your body. A weakness is an opportunity for strengthening in every aspect of your life. Your physical body is a reflection of your mind. It's a tattletale. So if you have a weakness in the body, it's showing a weakness in your mind. And that is my jam, because I'm all about mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. And that I can tell you just by looking at people, I can read a person through their body language. I can read them through the way they hold themselves. And, this has just been a gift that I've acquired since I was a little girl, but it's been harnessed and honed because of the fact that I've dived deep into healing myself, because I know myself, my body, my mind. As crazy as it is, I'm like, oh man, I own my shit and I can see it all around me, but I'm not swimming in it. I'm actually just like, that's empowering. And that's where we need to be, is if you have a weakness, to recognize the weakness is showing you also your strengths. So maybe you are weak in one area, but it's also, the dark has to help the light be illuminated, and the illumination also brings light to the dark. It's that, again, this is the balance, the dance we're playing, we're participating in, we're engaging in this life. So we can be who and whatever we desire, but it also takes our willingness, our awareness, our open-mindedness, and back to the willingness, we have to be willing to take some form of action, not just any action, but intentional action, conscious action. And it has to align with integrity and authenticity with our heart and soul, because there is the human mind, which is influenced from the externals, from all the programming, from all the media. It's like the media is a form of programming. Think about that. Mediums, from the media, it is programming our human mind what to think. It influences how we dress, the kinds of people we hang out with, the people we admire, because it's coming at us from all different angles, and we're taking it in through our five senses. So just like a computer, the data comes in through the five senses: the sight, the smell, the taste, the touch, what you hear. And always remembering that what you expose yourself to, you are also consuming. So what you consume will eventually consume you. This is the last video that James and I did. And with that mindfulness and awareness, you can choose the environment you place yourself in. If it is a challenge to you, you can also choose to leave those situations. And if you start coming up with the but in the stories, really ask yourself, is that really true? And what do you really want to feel? What do you really want to experience and create and manifest in this life? Because you always have a choice, and choice is your superpower. But most people have been disempowered because of the stories from the external, and that is just the human mind. Now, the soul, the heart and soul, because I believe the heart is the seat of the soul. I know a lot of people say the pineal gland, but if spirit comes in through the nose, in the mouth, and through the skin, because your skin is your largest living, breathing organ as well. People don't think like that. If your lungs are in the same place as your heart, and the spirit is the breath of God, is the life force, that's the prana that fuels you. That is your fuel, is breath. Breath is life. And the heart is the battery. To me, spirit, battery, heart, to me, that's why wouldn't the soul reside there? I mean, it's actually all inclusive. It's not just in one space, but that's my own personal belief. We also have to align and the mind, body, spirit, and soul together. So yes, you have the human mind. It may seem separate, but that's where we need to lasso and master the mind to serve us, as opposed to being the servant of our own mind, which has been influenced and infiltrated through the media, through the five senses. Because when you watch a movie, you get so deeply ingrained into it, you physiologically feel like you're a part of it. Something happens, you jump. Oh my gosh, that person, you start to relate to characters. Why aren't you doing that in your own life? Why aren't you more mindful of that? I mean, you feel it. You escape your life to go into a movie setting just by watching it. And then you become participant in it, as opposed to being the star of your own show, your star in the role, the star actor in your own life, which is something that Decode Your Reality, Logan I love that's one of his lines is he says, be the star of your own life. Stop playing extras in other people's lives. And you can create and be whoever and whatever you want. It's just a choice. And it's also, it's the unlearning, it's unraveling all the old crap, because we've all been exposed to something disempowering throughout the course of our lives. So we're here in a situation where we can really take it all back. This is the reclamation. You know, the revelation is for the reclamation, right? We are having a revelation, and it's an internal one. That's the James conversation that we've been having in the background about. This has never been about a revelation on the external, except for that. Again, what you have going on within you is always mirrored outside of you. When you know you will see everything to be true outside of you. You will see the truth within the lies. You will see everything for what it is, as opposed to being deceived or influenced in a way that makes you feel disempowered. The reclamation is about the revelation, and the revelation reveals your ability to reclaim. So when you see and feel and you are reclaiming, the revelation is coming from within, and then it's revealed outside of you. It doesn't happen the other way around. You may get little snippets that awaken the revelation within you, but that revelation within you is going to be revealed outside of you after you claim that. If you're in that space of wisdom and awareness of self. So we have this internal revelation so we can have this reclamation of our personal power. And again, going back to the presence and what Hugh and I were talking about is numbers and numerical sequences, and how when you see numbers, start to decode yourself. Look at, when were you born? What day of the week were you born? What's your birthday? See if the numbers are reflected in those numbers. If you're seeing 1111 all the time, or 33s or 144s or 44s, whatever it is you're seeing is meant for you. It's the divine play of the universe. The universe is always sending you signs. And when you are picking up and you see the numbers, it causes you to pause. It also takes a moment to go, oh, I'm seeing that number again. In that moment, you're present. That's the gift of the numbers, is bringing you back to the present. It made you stop and pause and say, I see that number again. That's the universe getting your attention to be present. When you see the number, think of it like a childlike game. You see the number, you go, oh my gosh, the universe is playing with me again. It brought me back to the moment. Thank you for that. Be grateful. And then get excited. Let your inner child just kind of be like, oh, there's that number again. Something right. Oh, something good is happening. But also you can harness that and go, what do I want to manifest with that? Because did you ever consider that that number might be a powerful indicator that when you take it on and you get excited about, I keep seeing these numbers, it's telling me that I'm present in that moment. Be grateful for being present, because in the moment, the present is where all your power resides. That's when you manifest the most. You can't manifest in the past or the future. You only manifest in the moment. So when you start feeling into it, you have to embody it. Get into the state of, I'm excited. I'm going to Portugal. I'm going to have this, like really start playing this film in your mind and just feel like you're there in the moment you get those numbers. And then you can also get some books around numerology, and you can do a little research, like bolster that energy and know more than just, oh, it's a number. Like for myself, I was born at 10:38 on a Thursday. So for me, Thursday is my power day. 10:38 is the birth time, but I'm also born on 8/1/74. So for me, I just add the 7 and the 4, so I get an 11. And I have a lot of 11s that show up for me. But I see 38 all the time. I see 10:38 all the time. I see 1:38. I see them all mixed around. I see 74 and 47 all the time too, just because, and it's not that I look for it. It's just like we say, the universe is playing with us, checking to see how much we are in the present versus how much we're checked out. The more you're seeing the numbers, the more present you are being. The more you're not seeing the numbers, is just showing and cluing you into being checked out. Like right now, it's 12:22. You can't make this stuff up. And it's 22nd of March of 2023. So there's all those twos. There's a clue. 2 clue. I'll take a pause right now.
I was just thinking, my birthday is the 11th. 3 11s are 33. I don't know if that that means anything. And I was born on a Sunday. Actually, it was a Mothering Sunday over here. So I was born on a Mothering Sunday. But you're saying about your Power Day being your birthday. But I sort of got a little bit compressed with Sunday. To me represents not the best. To me, Friday and Saturday are the big days. But that's because of the way society and work is engineered, if you see what I mean. So I've always not seen Sunday as a very positive day, really. But now you've been telling the way you've been talking now, I have to rejig that and think again about that.
Well, and Sunday is the day of the sun, solar energy. So you can harness the power of the sun. What is Mother's Day? Oh, was it Mother's Day? Mothering Day?
It was in the UK when I was born. Yeah, that was particularly. It was the Sunday, the actual Mothering Sunday. Yeah. Is that
May?
No, for us it's so many weeks before Easter, and that particular year it was on the 11th of March when I was born, the Sunday. Yeah.
Third month, huh? Yeah, 3/11.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, it makes sense to me why you see 33. And then you said 7 a.m. So, and then what year?
56.
There's 11. You got 5 and 6, 11.
Yeah.
And you can also look at it because you can do both because I'm in the same boat. So then you got 19 before that, which reduces to 1. Oh my gosh, the squirrel is on my deck. Now I know he's ballsy. That's funny. He never come on my deck. That's cute. Okay, I'll be looking up the squirrel totem. He's trying to get in my pots.
We can't see it. What a pity. Never mind.
Anyway, sorry about that for the squirrel moment. Literally squirrel moment. But what I was going to say is, see, because I also play with it being the full 1974 or the 1956 for you, and you can see that as the 11 becomes 3. But I also have a 3 life path. So 3s are very significant for me as well. And so all of this stuff, like start journaling, like keep an actual separate book for decoding yourself for your blueprint. You can use everything from, and I really encourage people, and I'm bringing people together in my local environment because this is the kind of stuff my girlfriends and I love to talk about. And I said, I really want to bring us together so that we can work on this. And I know Logan at Decode Your Reality is putting together a course, which is on top of the things that I also am discussing here, because I recommended to him, I said, dude, you need to put this together as a course. I'll help you. I said this like a few years ago when I got a reading with him, because you can take your Vedic astrology, the Chinese astrology, your, the regular Western astrology. You've also got the cards of destiny. You've got human design. You've got the gene codes. You've got your personality type, numerology, tarot card, what your tarot cards are, the elements. Let's see, what else you got Enneagrams too. I mean, there's so many things. You take it all together. The more you get to know about yourself, the more it empowers you. Like, it's so funny when he did my reading, for example, like he said stuff that I knew, but he just confirmed. Like I jokingly refer to myself as Queen Bee. The bees find me. And even the story around growing up with a bee hive on the side of our house up in Maine, I can't make this stuff up. My sister and I are like, I said, I forgot about that, but we had to have it fumigated a few times because they kept coming back and building in the side in between the paneling and the wall. And it was an old farmhouse up in northern Maine. This was when we were kids. And I'm just like, the bees have always followed us. And so when I was on my trip and met Julia, I found myself a bee necklace. Like, you can't make up the stuff. Like, because it was limited edition, I had to have it. And the fact that I'm like, the universe is always presenting to us everything we know in our heart, the gnosis. And so when you're more attuned to that with this numbering too, get yourself, I've got the Numerology and the Divine Triangle by Faith Javane and Dusty Bunker. It's a book that Logan recommended to me I haven't really delved into it as much as I want to, but I also intuitively for myself just feel into what it means for me. Good example is like, I have a spiritual name from Kundalini Yoga. But I love my name because my name has meaning. You can break your name down just take it and look at the not just the numerology, because you can put that in the Chaldean and look that up too. But look at your name from a translating, like etymology and such. Like lana la bonte means dami la lana. So lana in Spanish and Italian means wool. Wool was a trading commodity. La bonte in French, they used to call the rich man la bonte. La bonte in French also translates to the bounty. And to me, that means mind, body, spirit, soul. That is the bounty of life. Oh, now I've got the butterflies dancing. 2 monarchs are playing together outside the window. See? This is the universe surprising and delighting me with nature up at my window, right?
Beautiful.
And so I know my path has always been to harness the richness of overall balance in my life, mind, body, spirit, and soul. And I've always been involved in fitness. I've always been a teacher of yoga, aerobics, kickboxing. I was a runner. Now I'm in, I've been in the yoga community I came back to the States in 2009 and I started teaching yoga in 2011. But even beyond that, in my computer background, beyond addiction, I work with addiction facilitation and in a hatha vinyasa, but Kundalini yoga became my passion because it's all these recipes that you can utilize. And there's a recipe for everything. You can even do a meditation for when you don't know what to do. I have the fists of anger meditation on there, and that's always powerful. Yeah. But it's like you start to see the patterns in your own life, and then you start to recognize patterns around you because it's all interwoven.
You'd be a good. Do you do life coach mentoring?
Yes,
Lana. Yeah,
I do.
I bet you. Yeah, you'd be perfect. I was just thinking from your inspiring life knowledge, brilliant. So funny enough, with names, James has sort of picked up on something. He's going to as well, because my surname is Quigley. I'm from the west coast of Ireland, grandparents backwards. On one side, and James has been looking at the Celtic side and connections from that, which is very interesting. But I've just been writing some notes actually about what you said. I'm going to utilize that, starting with the number 33. I'm going to take it a different way, take a different angle on it, and see where that goes, and be a bit habitual with it until it becomes a habit. So I'm going to start with that. That's brilliant, fascinating, and I didn't realize there's so many connections till he told me. And we looked at the breaking down the numbers there and what it means. So fascinating.
What part of Ireland?
Okay, they were from the west coast, a small fishing sort of agricultural. I've never actually been there. Actually, I've been to the east coast where my granddad was at another time, but not the west coast. They were right on the west, literally facing America. Right on there. And then they moved out from there. My dad was actually born in Tasmania, in Australia. And then my granddad came back to England. It's a long story, but so basically I've got sort of like, I think you have a mixed background, if you know what I mean, sort of thing.
Yeah, I have Irish background as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, I think your channel, I know the history of what you explained, what happened for you in the past in your original channel. But what you've got now, this channel should be big, should really blow up. It's so good.
I so appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
No, I love it. It just everything about it chimes with me. It just does. I think you're on the same page as me. A lot of things. You're further advanced. I'm not putting myself down with saying that, but when I saw you walking around in Portugal, I think it was Dom actually, and you were looking at the beauty and the detail and the smells and the sights. When you're going around to Monica, is it the top and along the coast? That's how I like to view things. The beauty of the tree and the smells. All the different things. Yeah, I feel beauty is such a big part of life. It's almost as important as love. Beauty is massive, I think.
What's funny, and now that you said that, because I was going to say my spiritual name in Kundalini yoga is Sundari Kirinkar, which translates to the princess lioness that radiates the beauty of God in your face like a beam of light, like having it just so powerful you can't not see it. I'm in your face is basically what it is. And to me, beauty is love. Beauty is a representation of all that source, God, universe has presented. And everybody's definition of beauty is different.
Yeah.
Some people will see one thing and say that's ugly, but in reality, that's still beauty because it exists. Beauty is whatever exists. It's just your eyes as the beholder do you see the beauty or what you're seeing that isn't the beauty or the love of God source energy is essentially showing the ugliness or I don't like the word ugliness because I don't want to say that anything should have a negative connotation because it's all just neutral, but whatever you're labeling, let's say, as other than beauty or love is essentially some aspect of yourself that you're rejecting. So when we call something bad, we're just rejecting that in ourselves, which is why it is so important to really harness and know ourselves deeply, to know what it is we're not accepting and loving within ourselves. So that whatever you see outside is a mirror of that which is inside. You can say, oh, I got caught off guard because that's something I dislike within myself. Like I'll say, for example, I'll use this one. I get in my car. I love to drive. I like to be fast. I wish, what people say to me all the time, Lonnie, you'll always look like you're going to take off and launch. You're going to fly off. And it's like, well, that's because in this life, I just don't have my wings. But essentially, I would love my car to just elevate and go around people because I'm like the shortest distance between 2 points. I'm going from A to B. Don't get offended at my direction. But if you're too slow, I'll go around you. I will. To me, life is like a maze and I will find my way through it. I don't really like to get caught up in that person getting in my way, more so that, oh, look, there's a path through there. My eyes are already looking for the route around. Whereas some people get really caught up, and I do. Some people get really caught up in the fact that someone just got in their way and they're so caught up, they're stuck behind the person as opposed to looking where they can go around them. And that's in life, right? Mm. So life will present you the obstacle. The question is, will you see the solution to get through it? And that's what this life really is. It's a game. It's a game of, like, I joke around and say, it's kind of like we were all put in a box with a maze, just like they play with the rats. And if we're going to find our way through the maze, are we going to find our way back to where we started? Are we going to remember where we began? We come in as children with a purity and a connection to source that is undeniable, but is denied us. We are conditioned and programmed through what other people have taught us because of what they were taught. Like this whole reality is a repeat, rinse and recycle, literally. And that's why they like to reset, because they don't want us to figure out the cog in the wheel. They have been manipulating it for so long. There's nothing new under the sun. They don't know anything other than what they know. And that's why, if you've been paying enough attention, you've been allowing yourself to see with real eyes, the third eye. When you close your eyes, thine eyes become one. When you see the reality for what it is, and you can see the patterns and you connect the dots, then it's almost like, oh, wow, this doesn't make sense, because it isn't. It's nonsense. You can't make sense out of nonsense. It doesn't touch the five senses. And so when you see through their lies, then they're like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. But they don't know any other way, because they've been using the same script. We're the ones writing the new script. And that's why they're falling. That's why things are coming to light. But that's because we're also reclaiming our own light. The only reason that it's being illuminated is because we're illuminating from within. So that's what the projection, what the reality is coming to right now. And that's the real revelation that we're talking about, is that illumination from within is the revelation that allows us to illuminate and see through all that. Go ahead, James.
I was going to say, you had a YouTube channel before. Is that right?
I did, with my ex-partner, yes.
So was there anything left of that channel that you could salvage?
Well, the channel's still there, and all the videos are still there. It's I think he renamed it. To protect against. He renamed the channel. It was Ridiculously Authentic, and the renaming of it, I believe, I can find it real quick. But essentially, what happened is it was his original channel, and we were sharing it to share content. It's called Tommy Famous. He named it to Tommy Famous. Oh my gosh. Anyway, whatever. Most of my good videos on there.
The reason I'm asking is, did you get any of the subscribers come across?
You know what? That was also part of the problem, because if I had, it would have been nice, because that channel has over 2,600 followers that we had built up from our social media on Facebook and all that. He took the group that had over 50,000 people, and he took the YouTube because it was monetizable. You know, he only took what he could make money off of. Plus, I was able to keep the page because he didn't have the admin control of the page. I did. But he was very manipulative, and every time we had an argument and I disagreed with him, he would take all the admin away from me. It was a very toxic, narcissistic situation. So he renamed our page to Tommy Famous, and that's fine. But the majority of all the views and everything that's on there are my videos, and there's some of my Kundalini yogas on there, some of my kitchen videos with recipes, as well as the deep insights and intuition that I've shared for years and all that. And I'm okay with the spring cleaning, and starting with this one, because it took me a long time. My channel had less than 200 subscribers on it. And I had always had this channel. I just, now I'm at 736, and that's pretty good. I mean, that's huge. I know, Julia, when we did our video first, that upped my video it had to have upped my video at least 150, 200, maybe even. So I'm very appreciative of that, as well as when James and I have done some videos and things, and it's just organically growing. I know that social media right now is, if you look at any big page or any channel, everybody's views are low. I mean, everybody's views. Yeah.
The reason I was asking you, so in a way you could say you were left with the ashes.
Yep. Phoenix Rising.
Yeah. Did you not say you see the number 138, and is that not a Phoenix number?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well, and you know, speaking of Phoenix, I don't know if I've ever said this to any of you all, but this whole Phoenix thing kind of makes me chuckle, because my mother always called herself the Phoenix. Her trucker handle was Phoenix. My mother considered her the Phoenix Rising. She was a triple Sag. You couldn't get in any more fire than my mom. And when she passed away, and I basically have had over the years, it'll be 5 years in July. That in 5 being transformation. So no surprise this year is a lot of powerful stuff coming in. So just the whole Phoenix thing. And I was thinking that I was still needing to put together like a logo and a branding and all that for myself, because I want to get my website and stuff up, that the Phoenix keeps coming up because of my mom, and that I've made it basically, I know, and I knew this since I was a little girl, I came to do what my mom was unable to do. Yeah. That I'm the one that took on that contract, and that my promise to my mom and everything that I do is for her, that my voice is her voice. My voice is her voice. My heart is her heart. It's a beautiful, powerful, it's a lot to carry. And it is the Phoenix Rising.
There is your child, because you are the rebirth. You are the Phoenix Rising. It's the universe is telling you. It's beautiful. To get 138, when you said it earlier, I thought, and then I thought, oh yeah, that's why the other channel went wrong. So the Phoenix rises. It's like, oh, now it makes sense. Wow, yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it might blow up, but not in the way like Jason's site has done. But there again, you've got a beautiful niche. I love that word, niche. A niche market. Your particular message and what you're about. Do you know what I mean? So it'll blow up, but maybe not to that size. But I don't see that as a negative either, because niches are so beautiful, aren't they? You know, the specialism within different areas.
Well, and honestly, my motivation, my message is really not to try to tell people. here's what this is the way things were and the way things are. And I love Jason. I love everybody's channel that I follow because there's a lot of great information. And James and I have discussed this. I never put my eggs in one basket because that's how you get burned. And there's always the possibility that if people put somebody on a pedestal, it only takes one time for them to be wrong about something that everybody starts in this whole, like, again, you got to take everything and just make it your own. That really the truth is within you. Yes, it may resonate, but maybe one day something he says doesn't resonate with him or anybody else. I'm not picking on Jason because I love listening to Jason. It's a matter of really feeling into your body. The embodiment is truth. The feeling is the truth indicator. The body's always telling on the mind. If it does not resonate and feel right in your body, then it means that it's in discord with your mind. And that's where you have to figure out, is it a belief system that I am addicted to, that I am still holding on dogmatically, that doesn't really ring true for my body? Because your body will say, it will call out the mind. The body's the tattletale on the mind. The body is always telling you what is true for you. And this is the gift that most people don't recognize, that the body is the temple. That's why we're meant to like really take care of it, because it takes care of us. It is our GPS. It is our guidance system. So if there's something out of alignment in the mind, hello, your spine is your backbone. Your spine is a direct correlation to your mind. What is your foundation? Your spine. So if your spine is out of whack, so is your mind. And I've learned this through my personal experience. I've learned this through my own body. I go to neuromuscular therapy. I've been working on chronic pain for years, and I know it's my mind. I know that for a fact, because I am very much, I'm stubborn. I'm a Leo, and I'm also like humble. I can get upset about something and I can be that fiery lion and then become the pussycat that goes, okay, I'm sorry. I had to get that out, but like I soften as much as I blow up. But that's the nervous system too, because you have to train yourself, your body and your mind, to recalibrate. If your nervous system is out of whack, again, that's your wiring. If your wiring is shorted, your nervous system, it's all correlated to the computer. That's why when we talk simulation, really we are, which came first, the computer or the body or the human? We're interplay. Everything's working together. That's why sometimes I think it's very possible we've always been in an AI. That this is, if it's a simulation, that means that we've been connected. It's not, the fear porn is there to disempower you. How are you going to harness and take control of it? All of it. So again, like I said, it's been oh, wow, look at me. My body's telling me this. I've had the major crises I've had with my physical body have been my biggest teachers. I mean, hitting my head, having cervical spine issues and not being able to turn my body and my head to the left or sleep on my right for months on end. I wouldn't wish anything like that on anyone because it was so excruciating, but I knew it was wake-up call. All of them have been wake-up calls for being tolerant of intolerable situations in my life, to choose to compromise my mental and physical wellness. Again, there's my name. It's about balancing that and demonstrating and emulating it. So I lead by my personal experience. I would never tell someone something that I myself had not actually experienced, but also I've learned the lesson not to tell or to try to help unless someone is asking for it. Now that in itself is a huge relief. If you are someone out there that listens, who doesn't listen to whether someone is asking, and you are offering and imposing your beliefs or your ideas, or you're offering suggestions and help, catch yourself and recognize whether or not that was even asked. Ask for permission first. Ask, hey, do you want my feedback? Do you want to hear what I feel or sense, or do you want some sort of advice? Because you'd be surprised. A lot of times people will talk because they just want to be heard. They don't necessarily want advice. In some cases, you're going to catch people who just want to keep talking about the same thing. And you may get sick of it. And you may actually have to be, I sometimes, big mama love, I'm over here going, I hear what you're saying, but it sounds like you are stuck in a loop, or, you know, depending on the person, you got to know your audience too. And you have to be able to say it from your heart with compassion. Not everybody's going to, you know, like what you have to say, but sometimes you also have to call it out if it's somebody that you know is repeating the same story, as well as yourself. We all do it. I do it.
Yeah. Breaking pattern.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're the pattern disruptors here. So, you know, we're here to disrupt for a reason. So if you're not causing a little bit of controversy out there, then you might be doing something wrong. I mean, the story of my life has been controversy in a very teaching, telling way. I mean, I have always been taught since I was a little girl, always question everything, question it all, because there is no such thing as a truth that can't be confronted, right? If it's true, then there's no problem with having that conversation. But 9 times out of 10, it's usually untrue if people are getting all caught up in their shit. Or it depends on the person. Like, you have to also ruffle a little feathers, poke and provoke people, you know, wake them up out of their slumber. I know I've had to be over the years, like I said, the health crisis. How many of us require something really dire, life or death situation for us to recognize what's so important in our lives? You hear stories all the time. Somebody got cancer, they changed their life. Somebody, you know, they got sick and they woke up one day and they just, like, I had a friend when I lived in Europe years ago who said to me, yeah, my wife, she got cancer and she changed her life completely. She wanted a divorce and she was never a country person. And then she went and she moved to the country and she got horses. And like, he told me this whole thing. And I said, wow. And that was kind of a teacher for me back then. I was thinking, wow, when it comes down to it, we should not have to get to that point to choose the life we desire. But sometimes that's what it takes for a person to recognize how much they're moving through the motions, you know, the program. Like, years ago, I joke about how, you know, I'm a product of the, you know, the white picket fence syndrome. You know, if here's the life you're meant to live, you go through school, you get your degree. This was my picture, right?
Yeah.
Get my degree, buy a house. Cause I did everything I set out to do. I wanted to buy a house by the age of 25. I think I bought it when I was 23. I wanted to travel. I wanted to live in Europe. I did all that stuff. And then I hit a peak where I was like, wow, I scratched off all the stuff on my list and I don't have anything on my list. Now I need to figure something out. And then when stuff started crashing down because I got to a certain point in my profession and then it was toxic, that's when my biggest wake up call happened, is like, wow, I am in an environment that does not support my health, mental, emotional, or physical. I'm in an environment that does not support happiness. I was at the point where I wanted to stay where I was, but nothing was really conducive to a healthy living environment. So it's kind of funny how you can want to stay somewhere, but it's only because it's familiar and comfortable. It's not necessarily healthy. And that's why most people, if you're in an abusive relationship, and it could be work environment, it could be an intimate relationship, it could be an unhealthy, toxic relationship with family or friends, et cetera, all of that abusiveness. What are you tolerating? If you're tolerating it, you got to go back to, why don't I feel worthy enough to make myself the priority? These are huge wake-up calls, and I guarantee that many people are going through this right now, especially in the world, the way the world is. That years ago, I tell you what, I do my best work is always my best healing work and insights all happen in my bathroom. I have a big mirror in front of my toilet, and I'm sitting there one day and I'm like, we are in the most toxic, codependent relationship we have ever been in with our governments. And I'm sitting there going, this is sick. And most people don't realize how toxic it is because they've just been going through the motions. The idea that some select group, and we didn't even select them, keep that in mind, we did not select them, are controlling, or we think they're taking care of us. Oh, look at this. They've created rules and regulations, and it's all to protect and keep us safe. Are you kidding me? They ain't doing a damn thing for us. They create, it's Hegelian dialect, right? It's the whole, what is it? Chaos solution. What is it? It's Hegelian dialect is.
Does that create a chaos situation? James might know.
Yeah, they create the problem. They offer the solution. It's the dependency upon them. So everything is created in order to maintain that consistency of, oh, we'll swoop in and save the day. You know, Uncle Sam, Big Brother's always watching you. You know, it's like, really, they're watching you to make sure that they can control you. How could anybody not see it except for the doe-eyed person or the person with their head in the sand, not wanting to acknowledge? And this is that time where James and I were talking in the last video about, I was saying, this is the time for us to step up, because if we don't step up and reclaim our power and own our shit, like, for example, allowing it to get to the point that it's at, we've allowed this. This isn't being done to us. We've just let it happen. We've been very dismissive, complacent, complicit, and allowing these select individuals to just do whatever the heck they do without any recourse, without any, personal responsibility or accountability. When we become accountable and we take personal responsibility, that's when you'll start seeing it happen on the outside. But it has to happen on a bigger scale, us as individuals first, for us to see and let it happen and affect change in the world. Because when people start waking up and going, you know what, I acknowledge this. This is part of me. Like, you can't say it's being done to you. You can't play the victim. You can't act like it's us versus them, which is part of the scenario they created, is this separation and divide. That's the oldest trick in the book. It's the art of war, Lao Tzu. That when you look at what's happening, you have to own that in you. And when you own it in you, it no longer has control over you, because you reclaim that power. And you look at the clock and it's 12:55, right? You know, and you're like, wow, there's the fives again. There's duplication. Change is coming. Change is coming. And you can't deny it, because we're here talking about it. And when you acknowledge something, the universe starts, it's already ahead of you, because you, on the human level, acknowledging and choosing something has already been set in motion. You're catching up to what was already foundationally the rolling of the wheels. The wheels were already set in motion. So this is such a powerful time. And I thank you very much, James, for pointing out the Phoenix numbers too, because every time I watch Jason, or I see specifically Logan, because he talks about 38 so often. And when he did my decode and he was talking about the 38s, and I forgot about the, like I have an actual running journal around decode and my blueprint, my life stuff, that I just keep writing down more information and the numbers and how they affect me. So it's super fun. Oh, Julia popped out and she'll be back. So yeah, that's huge. And when I look at your name, even though it's you pronounce it Yui, I see huge. So you got something huge going on too, I'm sure.
That could be taken many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you anyway. Yeah.
Two opposing scripts being run. It's like, on the one hand, we're just little old insignificant individuals. You can't do anything. You're less than a grain of sand on Mars or something. But okay, if I'm that insignificant, then why is there all these cameras and monitoring and watching? And I thought I was insignificant. It's like, well, thank you very much. That's telling me something. Are you really that fearful? I'm talking the perceived control thing here now, really, on a sort of broader perspective. It's like, I'm so small and insignificant, and yet you've got a spy on me. What a horrible existence you must have. I'm glad I'm not in that world. This one's so much more fun. So which is it? We're either insignificant and have no power, or this control system that has, it seems to be horrific, and they are very powerful. But the thing with a seam, if it starts to unravel, this veil just pulls apart, and it's like, you're just illusions. You don't actually have any power. You're just imitating the power that we have inside of us, because we can actually co-create. We can use our imagination. Oh yeah, you haven't got that. You can only repeat. You can only take something and twist it, and then feed it back in a very twisted way. Well, guess what? There's more and more that can untwist these twists and can see right through it now. So game over. This is so much fun. I'm going to yield now.
And that's always the clue, isn't it? The fact that why would I be so significant to them if they have to monitor me, if they have to constantly watch over me? In that respect, I have to be honest. I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, I get it. I mean, heck, I was in the military for over 10 years. I was in government contracting almost another 10 years, as well as working in NATO and all those environments, working in IT. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I've been sabotaged or silenced, especially over these past few years. I mean, I lost my TikTok account when it was blowing up. I don't even like TikTok anymore. I just totally took it off my phones. I don't even use it. I have a couple other accounts. My sister constantly sends me stuff. I love that they have great short videos. But at the same time, I don't want anything to do with it, just because it's just a matter of time before that one goes away. My Facebook, all of us have had some form of being put on the quiet list, let's say, the naughty list, but take it as a compliment, because no matter what, and again, like what I said years ago before all this stuff started, and I used to do my ridiculously authentic videos and I would do kitchen videos. I said, my mom would say growing up that technology, even though I was in the heart of it for the government, she'd say, the internet, it concerns me, because she could see the malevolence of it. But because I have a Libra rising, I'm always balancing scales anyway. My whole thing is in life, again, like I said, is about balance. I said, Mom, you know what? Whatever you can do for the evil side, you can do for the side of good. I said, it's brought so many people together. So when I would do my videos, I say, we're here to harness the power of the internet that is bringing us all together. So in whatever form and however it has brought us together. It has brought more people together in a way maybe not anticipated. And yeah, it's going to create confusion, divide still, but that's where it's up to us to learn to discern. That's where it's up to us to see through everything. They're scrubbing the internet. The fact of the matter is history, even in the books, if you watch the video around the book hunters and how they changed history, even in the physical writings of books, is no different. But even more so with the digital era, they can change things as much as they want to. They claim they want to be able to digitally watch us in every moment, the mark of the beast. They want to be able to control in every little detail of what we do. It's a crazy scenario if you think about it, because it all be turned off in a blink of an eye. There have been talks around the cataclysms, the solar flares, something happening where the sun knocks out all the grid. I just don't understand how people could even buy into the fear porn around. If technology was wiped out, then what? So they want to put a chip in you. If they have Skylink doesn't even work. What was it? Was it last year when the Skylink sent up all those satellites and they all burned out? I don't know if you know anything about that. But here we are supposedly throwing all this, let's just call it space trash, up into the atmosphere, because all it is trash. And it's more, they talk about the environment, which we all know is a lie. It's like they throw all these satellites up into the sky that don't work. That people think Elon is this great person that has all this technology. No, he's just the figurehead. This technology has always existed. It's just They reveal it when they feel it's necessary to support their agenda. So let's just imagine, we talk Bitcoin, we talk chips and people and everything else. But the grand scope of things regarding this whole situation with technology, what is everybody afraid of? It could all be turned off in the blink of an eye. And all we got to do is figure things out on our own. But the people doing the real work aren't the ones in control. And people have to remember that if you're in a space, an environment where you are doing something that supports other humans, whether it's keeping their lights on or, building anything of just, basic human rights, right? You're supplying water. You're part of that environment. Consider that you are able to contribute to that to support other people so that you may be called upon at some point. Don't think of your job as, well, I'm just getting a paycheck. I just do what I'm doing. Think about the future planning, that what if you lost your job and everybody's got to do something to get by? You may have something valuable to contribute to support. And keeping that in mind, do you know the people around you who can do things that you'll need in return? Because we're going to go back to bartering at a certain point if it gets to that point. If the sun wipes out our grid, how are they going to control us with technology? Has anybody considered that? Like, what is the real fear? Why are we buying into cataclysmic events? Why do we allow that to even infiltrate our minds? Who's to say that's not a setup in itself? So much of what James and I have kind of talked about, we were going to talk about in another video, is regarding this, again, chasing history. Like, we're always seeking answers and truth. But the truth and the revelations, again, come from within. Predictive programming. I talked about this in one of our videos regarding, I believe that a lot of what we think is being told to us as dropping truths in the lies is actually just them predictively programming us to accept and manifest. Because that's our power. They know how powerful we are. We are capable. When you keep us in a group setting, you go to a stadium, you go to a movie, you go to any group environment, they know that community, humans in unity, is what is power because of our concentrated focus, our attention. You keep our attention in a group environment, we are that much more powerful together. That's why they had us isolated. Think about it. They don't want people, thriving. If you're isolated 3 feet, that breaks your heart coherence. Then you become distrustful of others. If you are within someone's aura, outside of 3 feet, most people's auras don't extend that far. But that's how we build that energetic heart coherence with one another, is being in close proximity with one another. And our hearts get strengthened by that. When we're apart more than 3 feet, we are weakened. That's where we humans are meant to be in unity. Not just working on a conscious level, but in an energetic level too. And most people don't realize that. When someone walks in the room and they have a strong presence, everyone feels it. That person is coming in and they're lifting the presence of everybody else. They are actually influencing those others energetically. They know all this. Why do you think they have bioweapons? Why do you think they have the technology that can triangulate an individual based on their harmonics and their frequencies? Why do you think the whole DNA thing, like James and I was talking about, is because who was it? Somebody I know had sent away to get their DNA done with 23andMe, and then their mother did it and they didn't even connect up. Like, they didn't show them as being connected. How interesting is that? So is it really true? Do they really use it for connecting heritage and all that? Or are they doing it to collect blood? I mean, I'm over here. I've already been in the military, so whatever. But does your family history really have as much significance? We're all looking for, oh, look at me, I'm related to this one or that one. Does it really matter? I mean, what is the end game on that? Like, we have to really always question, what is my motivation? How is this going to serve me? What is it I'm really seeking and searching, and how is it going to benefit me? Of course, people think if I'm related to somebody, maybe it'll benefit me because I can connect with them and in a blah, 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 whatever the story is. but they are fearful of us figuring out the power of our ability to manifest in this world, because they themselves have been feeding off of it for so long. Again, it's like we are their drug. We are their drug, and they're not going to get their fix when we all start waking up and stop giving willingly our energy toward the things they're trying to get us to focus on. So when you look at these movies and everything that you think, oh, they're telling truths in this, and oh, it reminds me of Minority Report, or it reminds me of whatever movie, is it really that they were telling you, or that they infiltrated enough people to manifest, because the attention in that movie got people imagining and creating exactly what it is they wanted? That in itself is a huge wake up. It's re-empower yourself. Don't disempower yourself. Just like I always say about astrology. Astrology is like the weather. It tells you the energies that are being that are influenced by us. We are in that energetic storm. That is a reflection of our energy that is reflected in the planets. The great masters, teachers, the astrologers of old times mapped all of the planets and the energies based on what was happening with humans, what was happening in the world at that time. It wasn't the other way around. So when you know that things are a matter of an interplay of influence and energy, then that's where the reclamation happens. That's the revelation. The revelation is realizing it's all coming from within, not at you. It's only coming at you as a magnetic attraction to where you're already at. So whatever's going on in the world is really just there to wake us up to what's going on within.
It's just scripts being offered, but you don't have to take any of them. It's using discernment. The thing is, with doing family history and anything, you might actually find that you've got an ancestor that you're in direct line from that's a serial killer or a child killer or something. It's like, well, that isn't such a good thing. But when it comes to the DNA test, I would seriously recommend reading the terms and conditions, because they definitely have terms and conditions attached. I think that's the safest way to say it. But even this censorship thing, it's like, fantastic game. I won't rush in to be the first to come out with this information. I'll watch and see, well, they got banned. They said a key word that it's okay, I know not to say that word, but I can use my imagination and I can say it in a more creative way that gets round the censorship and still gets the message out there. So it becomes this interesting game. Rather than, oh, what if I say this, I might get a strike, or one more strike, I'm going to lose my channel. I've heard people doing this, and it's like, well, you're manifesting that by even saying it and thinking it. You're feeling it. You're going to draw the very thing you don't want. That's a negative manifestation. So it's like if you've got still life, one artist will see the fruit bowl from one side and we'll see bananas and the pineapple. And then the artist on the other side of the table will have a completely different perspective, and maybe they'll paint a picture with pears and cherries and oranges, because they have a different perspective of exactly the same thing that's in the middle, and it's in the middle of us. But what perspective do we see these things at? Or are we going to just argue of there's more grapes than there are bananas in this fruit bowl? It just becomes a fun game. It's like the first step is this sort of, I feel inferior because everybody else seems to know, they're all in the know about this thing. So I've now got to absorb and cram all this nonsense. And you don't have to do any of that. That's a long route which I've trod through. Nearly got stuck in a mud flood, but I then brought myself back to, hold on a minute. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, I've looked at this, I've looked at that, I've looked at that conspiracy, I've looked at this thing, I've looked at that. You know, they all come back with the same answer, that everything's a lie. So the next great hot potato that's presented, it's pretty safe to say that's going to just tell you what you've been told is a lie. So that ain't going to give me the answer. So if it's not outside, it must be within. That's the only other place it can be. And this is some other secret compartment we don't know about. But yeah, I'm finding this is actually a really beautiful experience, and it's exciting. So they can ramp up the fear, because they will, because they get more and more desperate. They've got nothing else to throw at it. They've run out of weaponry, as it were. They can only throw in more of the same thing, and it's like, well, I already see through that, and I already see through that. So you think that's going to work? No. It's like, not in my world. No way.
Couldn't agree more. And I appreciate you for saying that, because it's always a check-in for me. Because even though I've said what I've said about what has happened for me in the past, the old story, I also have that stubbornness about me that's like, oh, well, watch me now. Like, you know, at the same time, I know there have been moments where I've felt disempowered because of the story of somebody trying to keep me from having a voice or what have you. But at the same time, I'm like, that was the old story. And so this is the new year. And now I have carte blanche, full reign of my, in fact, that was a dream that came to me a few nights ago, where I woke up going, I meant to speak up more. I meant to speak more, which has always been part of my path anyway, is speaking. So that's always the good reminder. And we say, choose your words wisely, because you are casting your spell through the stories you tell. Yeah.
Very much. It's also, as Ken Wheeler says, diversity of assets. It's like, we don't want any of us really on like 1 million subscribers. You're way up on a pedestal, you're a target. It's better. We all have got small channels. We are the diversity of the asset. And as we speak the message, well, I can actually use a Disney Merlin thing. Merlin beats that the perceived bad side. He turns himself into a germ. He's invisible, and he spreads like a virus, and it spreads via us, our energy. It's a good virus, though, that we'll be spreading. It's one of love. It's not one of hatred or fear. It's one of benevolence. This is all about, there is another way of doing things where everybody can benefit. That is the most logical conclusion. That, well, why are those people over there got so much less? Why are they struggling to even get a meal today? And why are those very few seem to be drinking $5,000 bottles of champagne? They make rules, and then if we break the rules, we get fined for it. They're taking money from us. God, it's milked from every possible angle. I've said it starts from before the umbilical cord is cut. The whole thing it's a rigged game that seems to be set against you, and it's a series of obstacles to overcome, just like in a computer game. That big boss at the end of each level, you've got to overcome it. It's a representation of fear, basically. And yeah, if you get it wrong, you go back and you've learned from the experience and play again. And practice makes perfect, and you'll move to the next level, and there'll be another boss, another obstacle. This game plays out every day. It's beautiful. We're so spy on us all the time. Wow.
Yeah.
The ego works that. You think I'm that important that you've got to spy on me? Wow. Hang on a minute. I thought you said I was insignificant. Which is it?
and that's how you can attract it too. Because when your ego gets excited, it's almost like a high and gets off on it. Think about it. If your ego is aware that, well, somebody has, it makes me seem like I'm important if somebody has to spy on me and watch over me or keep tabs on me, etc. That's actually in itself a cycle and an addiction. This idea that, wow, somebody wants to, for all of us, me even saying it when I was saying about my story and having been in the military and been silenced, etc. We all are craving a form of significance. In some ways that makes us feel like we have something, that makes us something. It gives us something that maybe we don't feel we have, but we already have inside of ourselves. And on top of that, I also want to point out, practice makes progress. First off, we're not looking for perfection. I'm a recovering perfectionist. But the fact that people don't realize this planet we live on should not require us to pay to live on it. That in itself is a clue that something is wrong. Something's gone long awry for us to have to pay in order to live. It's the most obnoxious. It's the most blatant in your face. It's just insulting to the intelligence of most people. Don't even realize that they are paying to live and that they're not living the life that they truly desire because they're so caught in the spell that they have to pay to live. We haven't woken up from that yet. People are still waking up to the fact that something's not right. They haven't clued into, that's the big one right there. That's the big foundational lie, that we have to pay for the basic necessities of water, electric, like none of that stuff. We shouldn't have to pay for any of it. But they've orchestrated this whole system based on technology, because remember, the technology has always existed. They just act like they give it to us, but it was always ours to have, not to be given to us. It was already ours to begin with. So if you look at the resets, what do? They hide and erase the truth of it, so that, oh, today this is the most advanced our civilization has ever been. What a lie that is. I don't believe it.
No. It seems quite the opposite. It seems a filtering down of less, but in the same process of that, with the sort of having less and less each time, getting further to the rock bottom, which is where you rebuild again. So we've probably passed that point, and now it's on the ascension, just like it's reflected in this time of year. It's in the now. We're in the spring. This is a beautiful bloom of energy, and it's going to be possible to show it. It's already been shown. It's suppressed everywhere, but it's already been shown that benevolence is the far greater power, and everybody gains from that.
And really, the technology that we have today is really a devolution, not an evolution. It's devolving. Why? Because it's not the original technology. It is the copycat, because that's what they do. They're copying from our old original script and devolving it so that we are dependent upon them, reliant upon them. How many people have come out with all these different technologies of hydrogen cars and such, and then all of a sudden they just mysteriously die or disappear? That's a clue in itself too. The fact that we are still dependent upon them, and they keep creating the dependency, finding ways to maintain the dependency. Every time someone disappears, you got a question. Every time someone's character is assaulted, or someone gets, whatever the corruption and all the stories, it's all a distraction. It's all to keep the eyes away, right? Pay no attention to the man behind the counter. You were saying the other night in our conversations regarding Toto pulling this, the curtain away from the Oz. And this is where we're at, is people waking up to these fundamental in-your-face truths.
Funny you say Toto, and I've just noted it's 5:22. Well, Toto is 2:2. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, 1, 2, 2. And earlier it was what was it, 12:55? Remember when I was saying that? So there's our play on our numbers.
Yeah, it's incredible how it's just revealed. It's like, I don't know what made me look at the time and at that precise moment, but I was like, what is the time? And then you just said Toto, and there's 22. It's like, wow, it's just being reflected. It's just whether we can stop magically now, because we've not been aware of what's being presented to us. I mean, if you strip it right down to basics, every film, every media broadcast, every flat screen, they're two-dimensional. It's basically showing you it's shallow. There's no depth to any of it. We're saying here, but the irony of it, it's like, oh, we're stuck in 3 dimensions. Well, no, some of you seem to be addicted to 2 dimensions.
Right?
It's fine if they're getting something beneficial out of it, but if they're just feeling more fear from it, it's like, well, why are you putting yourself through that? Who is holding the gun to your head and making you watch it? You choose to watch it. Is it for validation because you want to feel better? Is it so you don't have to do the inner work? What are you really watching the thing for? Is it something that is going to serve you? And that's not like somebody's going to come up with a silver tray and bow down before you. Is it serve you, and is it going to benefit you in any way? If it doesn't benefit you inside, and listen to the body. If the body is saying, "Oh, that makes me feel sick," well, that's a very good reason. Don't watch that then. The body is telling you that's harmonious with your frequency.
But you know, just in that saying that, like, why do people keep their eyes on it? Why can't they take their eyes away from it? Why can't they disengage? And again, it goes back to the addiction, the fear of missing out. Like, they're afraid. And then think about it. Like, I personally am not the type of person who watches horror films because I dislike the shock factor. I'm not looking to do that to my physical body, and those films don't interest me. So when people, and I have friends who love those kinds of movies, and I just shake my head like, whatever. But the thing is it's that addiction to that shock factor. It's the addiction to the what is it called? Like, really just blow your mind. Like, people want their minds blown, but what do they want it blown by, right? And so they can't take their eyes off of the blood and the gore, because there's this incessant, I say addiction, but it's also like, it's a fetish. It has to do with some trauma that happened in their past, and they don't realize it, because most people don't realize most trauma turns into a fetish, turns into, like a fixation. And I think it's because of the unresolved aspect of it personally. But and when we look at the statistics of, like, accidents, and then you got people staring at the accident, looking to see if they're going to see something. Like, I was driving home last night, there was a big accident, and I was looking to see that everybody was okay, but I wasn't sure what the accident was, or there was a whole bunch of, fire trucks, and they were all blocked off. And, the average person doesn't realize they're looking to be shocked. They're looking to be shocked, but they're looking to be shocked in the wrong way. Most of us should be seeking to be shocked awake, shocked in a delightful way, surprised and delighted, versus shocked to destroy our nervous system, right?
So I wonder what that sort of shock from watching things like that and seeking that sort of thing, what does that do to the adrenaline levels or the chemical changes in the body?
It sets you off. It sets off the sympathetic nervous system. So that's when the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn kicks in, isn't when they hit that shock. But not everybody can get out of it back into the parasympathetic nervous system. When your nervous system is shot, you can end up stuck in the sympathetic. It's a chronic stress response. And so too much cortisol in the blood actually, and that's the kind of thing that the cortisol and the adrenaline and all that is supposed to help you get away from harm. It's supposed to put you into action. Some people don't get into action. They become paralyzed. But the shock factor, depending on the individual, can keep them stuck in that space to where that all turns into chronic pain because the body is overloaded and saturated in those hormones that are only meant to serve you in a limited capacity. Now, when you have too much of it, just like anything, imbalance, it creates the imbalance again. Too much of anything is not good for you. So it ends up eating away at your tissues in your body. So what would be used to build up tears down. See, polarity, duality. So that's in the simplest, yeah.
Because basically what should kick in to actually protect you, it is now being trained to, oh, just sit there and stay still.
Yep, exactly. That is exactly what you're seeing on the world stage. So people are shocked by the media, shocked by what they're seeing happen and playing on the supposedly the world stage. We say all the world's a stage. So we don't know that this stuff is even real because we're not seeing it in person and we're not experiencing it in our real present lives. We're only seeing it on a screen playing before us, right? So you may assume and take on that story. And now, like you said, you're sitting just watching it. You don't have a real response to have. It's a visual, it's a hearing through the senses. Again, it's hitting the five senses. You're taking in the data, but you're not processing them in a normal capacity where you would react or respond naturally. So like you said, it is retraining you to be complicit and complacent and not have any actual response to it. Not a one that would really benefit you.
It's funny because you also got this other story that plays out. It's like, why are you shouting at the television?
Yes. Yeah.
Making you just totally passive and basically, I'll just sit here, do whatever you want, harvest my energy. I put up no resistance. I'll be like a daisy waiting for the lawnmower to come along. And all I do is just sit here and sigh. I think we're all, well, not I think, I feel we're all worth far more than that. But
for sure.
It is up to us to express it and realize that we're sovereign beings and take responsibility for ourselves. Be benevolent, co-create, lead by example, which is this whole going to Portugal. This is what it is all about. It's being able to show, look, here's another way of doing something. You can't have the entire world turn up there. It's just a demonstration to then for people to take whatever they can take out of it, tailor it to their life, and if they use their imagination and their creativity, they can create the environment, because it's too easy to put up all these silly objections. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that because of this or because of that. That's just a cop-out. It's like, well, how much do you really want to do this? Your heart's really not in it, because you've got to be all in on this. There's no half measures. You've got to go in heart and soul into this. There's no shortcut, and it's face every challenge, because there's going to be challenges, but we'll overcome those challenges. Those challenges will present themselves, like has already happened. The change of the land happens early on. Well, that's a good thing, because the fruit bushes that have just been bought haven't had a chance to really root, so they're going to be easy to transport, which is far better than if it happens 3-4 years later and then a problem arises. So it's not a problem, it's highlighting where there's something that needs to be addressed, and that's the way to look at it, not look in the negative sense of, oh no, this has happened, and then, well, what do you want? Validation of, oh, poor you? No, that's where there's no poor you. I can do it a better way, because I can use my imagination, I can visualize and create in my mind an outcome. I can hear the other person saying, you'll never guess what's happened. The problem's been resolved. This or this or this has happened. And I can just embrace that feeling and import that in myself. That will help to create. And the more that do that, that's where we've got to be aware in the moment as well. Listen to what the other one's saying. It's like, they're complaining about this. Well, in my mind, I'm not hearing them say that. I'm hearing them telling me something completely different, positive. They haven't got a bad back anymore. They're not even saying, I don't have a bad back. They're telling me they're healthy. We can do this collectively. The Wi-Fi is based on something metaphysical. We can do this purely in thought. It goes through the ether. The ether goes through the Wi-Fi cables. The Wi-Fi cables aren't a barrier to it. This energy that we've got just permeates through everything. We really do have the power to co-create. But what impact is it going to have? What is it that we're creating? What are we aiming long term? Look at what the opposition, as it were, is saying. It's they do these things over long time spans. Well, that's a clue. The system gives you, you've got to plan for your old age, for your retirement. They're telling you to plan ahead, way ahead. Think bigger. Think about, you want to live in a tree house. You're 20 years old. What about 60 years' time? Is that wood still going to be good? Are you going to be able to climb a ladder up to get up in that tree house at 80 years old? You've got to really be clear with all of this and create something that is in harmony with nature, because nature will just renew itself every year. We do it with every cell in our body. We renew continuously. We're never the same being. So why are we trying to stay static and in familiarity? There's no fun in that. That's going to get boring and stagnant. There's no growth in that. But we've got a beautiful opportunity because we're at the point where we can start all the new growth. It's not like it's 99% done and there's still 1% to do. We've got 100% to do. This is beautiful. So we're never going to get bored.
Well, and look at how everything has over the years become timed obsolescence, like computers, technology, it's all got built-in obsolescence, right? Where basically, something's wrong with my phone. I call up the provider and I'm explaining I'm having this technical difficulty. And this happened to me years ago, back in the day when I was still in the military. And they told me, well, it might be time for you to get another phone because it sounds like maybe your phone's not compatible. I only had the phone for 2 years. And this was before the smartphones, by the way. And I'm like, that's what's wrong with the system. I said, you're telling me that you can't come up with a solution because you're telling me my phone is too old and it's only 2 years old. So it's that kind of thing that we have allowed to happen because the original first light bulb up in the Boston fire department from, I think they said, what did they say, 1906 or 1908? It's still burning. But they can't have that because they need you to be dependent upon a system. And it's beyond the money, by the way. People think it's all about the money. It actually goes deeper than the money. This has been built into, they want you to think it's the money because you're in survival mode. Because you have to pay on this planet to live here, which is most absurdity, is the big, like it keeps you distracted from that fact and that aspect that you're constantly trying to plan, trying to figure things out. Well, if I buy something, how long is it going to last? When am I going to have to replace it? If you already have to think like that, there's a problem. There was a time, and this goes back to the antiquities of time, that our parents, when they made things, there was still pride put in the work. But when we started outsourcing to China and this cookie cutter idea of everything looks the same, like I personally, when I go shopping, I can't stand buying the same thing everybody else is buying. I don't like the quality. It's crap. I look for things that will last longer, that are stronger, that are individual, that will be more attuned to my individuality, my unique expression. Our parents, our grandparents, they made things that lasted. There
That's not
were,
good. That's not a good business plan. You want something to fail, so you've got a repeat customer. But
right. This is the business model. Is their business model is to keep you dependent upon a system to keep churning things out so that we're so distracted we don't notice the real man behind the curtain is the distraction in how we're living.
they're so generous, aren't they? It's like, oh, your phone doesn't work after 2 years. Well, don't worry, you can have another one. Oh, don't worry about paying for it up front. You can have it on credit. Let's call
Right.
it in. Let's really say what it really is. I'm going to be paying even more with the interest. So who's that interesting for? And that's basically indentured servitude, which is slavery.
Mm-hmm.
The invisible charge. Oh, I've got to do this because I've got to pay for this because I got it on credit. It's like, what a wonderful way of enslaving everybody if they can't see the chains. But it's made to look like, and it's presented like, this is the must-have, this is the limited edition. Oh, you must have this. It's like, no, I don't. It's like, I don't want it. What am I going to do with it once I've got it? It doesn't stop there. I've now got to consider about maintaining it, insuring it, because, oh, it might burn down or it might not work after a while. So I'm going to need insurance because I've got to be in fear of something happening to it. So now I've become a slave to this thing that I've still got to pay for credit. And now I've got to do something I don't like doing for 40, 50, 60 hours a week, 5 out of 7 days, which is not a halfway point. That's not living. There is no other living anything on this planet that does this. It's outrageous. Trees don't pay, birds don't pay, nothing else pays to live. But humanity is so smart that it's developed smart technology. Really smart. Yeah. What a joke. Wow. But
well, and smart, and most people don't know what smart really stands for. SMART really stands for self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology. So if anybody is listening to this and you want to know, if you want to really know what SMART stands for, it stands for self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology. That is the acronym that SMART stands for. You think it is smart? Yeah, it's really smart. It's called intelligence. It's the type of intelligence. Oops, you're breaking it up. It's the type of intelligence that the government uses. Smart smart is meant to be surveillance. So it says self-monitoring, but I see it as surveillance, period.
It doesn't sound quite so smart anymore, does it? The fact that it's called that, it's like this whole thing with cryptocurrency, it's like, can nobody see it has the word crypt in crypto? What does that really tell you about it?
Mm-hmm.
And once you see this pattern with things, we're compartmentalized to hear words only said one way, and oh, that means that and that means that. But actually, when you get into the legal system, words seem to have more than one meaning. And it's like, oh, if you change that letter for another letter and create a different spell, it sounds the same, but it means something completely different. But it's essentially, in sound, the same word. So what sort of world are we living in? One that is spinning round and round out of control. But it's not the physical world that seems to be moving. It's thoughts in people's heads. It's going whizzing around, problem solving. Little me, what can I do? I can't change anything. Or you get other people say, well, who are you? You can't do anything. And no, it's always been this way. Well, of course, it's always been this way. If that's the way everybody's going to just go along with it, it's like, where's the backbone in everybody? You don't have to do it in an aggressive or violent way. And it's ridiculous just going and begging and saying, please give us back our freedom. Because, yeah, they might give you something and it'll look wonderful, but there'll be a dagger in the other hand. There always is. This system doesn't give anything apart from misery, debt, and just the purest, most acidic, negative aspects. But it's only a contrast. It's like, see it for what it really is, and an action causes an equal and opposite reaction. So there's a positive and a negative. But we're trained to focus on the negative to everything, and then we miss the moment.
Well, that's where I was talking about. You want to be very cognizant of how much time you spend in the negative versus the positive. You may even spend too much time in the positive mind, but again, those are showing the imbalance.
Definitely. It's also when you feel like, oh, I feel on a much higher energy today. Oh, test it out. Go and see how well that holds up in the outside world as well. Observe what's coming back. You'll know if you've got your energy's growing, because you'll get a completely different subset of people, different events. It could even be the same people, but they behave differently. They interact in a different way. And it's like, well, this background scene is exactly the same. It doesn't look to be any different, but it certainly feels very different. And what I'm viewing and what I'm experiencing is very, very different. And it's like, oh, this is actually more than just tolerable. This is actually really good. It's like, actually, I'm enjoying this. So this is fun.
And while you said that, it's 1:44. There's your numbers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's fabulous. The beauty of the timing again. I mean, I didn't even think to look at the phone since that I mentioned the time earlier, and it's like, and you've just seen it. It's like, wow, thank you for the reminder. It's like, wow, what a beautiful moment. That's beauty in the timing, shown in the numbers to what I'm describing from what I'm now experiencing of this world. But I can't take it out as a cassette and plug it into anybody else. The only way you'll know this is to step into it and feel it. That's the only way you're going to know it. You're not going to see it. You're not going to hear it. You'll feel it inside. That is the communication. That is the language. It's how you feel inside from anything you take in through the eyes, through the ears, ingest.
Mm-hmm.
Feel inside you. Wire it up. Is it good? Is it bad? How is it? Is it bringing up a feeling? Is it something I've now got to? Oh, that's a trigger. I need to have an inquisition within inside myself on that one, and I need to reevaluate. That's good. It's like, I don't mind walking across a cushion metaphorically, because it's like, let's see if there are any little bits that really dig and trigger. And oh, good. It's getting easier and easier to do every time. Yeah, enjoying.
And while you were all saying that about when you walk into a space and you feel the difference, notice how you may have been part of the reason that difference is occurring, because in your awareness of yourself, you carry that with you and you project it before you enter a room. Your energy is felt when you work on your magnetic field. When you strengthen your nervous system, you strengthen the 10 bodies, as we say in Kundalini Yoga. Your energy is felt long before you even arrive at a destination. People feel you. And when you're working on you, you're contributing and uplifting others around you too. So the mindfulness in self allows for the upliftment and the betterment of others.
Good reminder. Yeah, it's worth sort of harnessing that energy and then going out once you've got that, feeling it, and then go out. Radiate. So it's like complete strangers. They smile and we'll say hello, and it's like, that's unheard of. That's not happened before. But it's like, oh, how wonderful. And then it's reinforced by seeing nature coming back to life, seeing the new growth on the trees and daffodils. And there's a beautiful tree in pink blossom, and then yellow daffodils underneath that, and lush green grass. There's a nice sunny spot, and I thought, yes, confirmation, spring is finally here. I noticed that last week, and it's like it was worth just going out for a walk just to see that moment. And I thought, no, I'm not going to take a photograph. I don't need to. I've taken a photograph with my eyes. I don't need to put it on a phone. I've got the memory of the feeling of seeing that tree and thinking, wow. And that vibrant yellow of those daffodils contrasted on the green. It was beautiful. What a magical moment. And how many people even consider it? There's so many people walk past that particular place right near a railway station, but how many actually stop and appreciate what's there? It's like an oasis of nature within a town centre. It's like, this is incredible. It's a beautiful picture for the eyes. And there's an energy in those colours from the daffodils and coming off that blossom as well. That's some feel. It's like, we're not disconnected from any of this. We're connected to it, or you can feel it. And it is all in the feeling. And it becomes this magical interaction. And then you feel a belonging, of being a part of something. We're part of the stars, the earth. We're part of everything. We are aspects of a universe. We're mini universes within a universe, a game within a game. It's such a euphoric realization inside oneself to feel that. It's like, wow. Oh yeah. But sometimes it does take what seems like a mountain being dropped on you to, there's something that sort of, there's a correction. It's like you're going out the game frame here. It's like, get back in there. And then it feels like the world's come crashing down all around you. But it's like, okay, I've hit rock bottom. Well, there's only one way you can go. Can't get any lower than this. So therefore, you probably can get lower. Different circumstances if we compare across the things. But in the moment, that feels like the low point. Well, you feel that's the low point. So your perception is, well, if this is the low point, the only way can be up. Because if you feel like you can't go any lower, then there's only one other way to go, and that's rise up again. And that changes the perception of that experience. It's almost like if you're in a running race, you're first over that finish line. It's almost like everything bad presented to you is almost like having that feeling of, yes, it's come to me, or I've got this experience. I'm the first one to get to that, and now I've overcome that. And it's like, wow, it's like I've had this or that happen, and it's like, but yeah, now I can look back and I can see that was actually helping me. It wasn't the negative thing I thought it was, because I've now got a different perception of it, and it fits in. It's like, there's a story here. Oh yeah, I'm the one that's actually creating this story. Oh dear, I didn't do very well there, but I've learned from that, and now I can correct that. And now I can write a new story, because I can listen to her story, which is the subconscious. The womb of creation is the imagination. It's the divine feminine principle, the right side of the brain. I just need to enter into the right dialogue of communication, which is in the feeling from the thoughts in the divine masculine side. And then the real power is with that imagination in the divine feminine. It's the homemaker. Well, that's within us. And it creates, it's Cinderella going from sweeping up the floor to becoming the princess within inside oneself. It might sound a bit odd in the physical sense in a male body, but it's happening inside in the metaphysical. But it's just a way I can express it. But it also shows how limiting the words can be and how not to take them literally. They're just metaphors to try and describe something that doesn't have a physical form. It is a phenomena, and you see it in action. And that's the beauty of it. When you see it just unfold, and it's like, oh wow. That is just such a magical moment. And it can be for anything and anyone. You haven't even got to be within a physical proximity to them. They can be a million miles away. And you can do it all with thought and intentions and what you create in the mind. As long as that's being fed from the heart, can't go far wrong.
Infectious feelings.
Well, there's a negative presentation of something that's supposed to spread like wildfire, and there's been plenty of wildfires. There's an internet to spread it, and oh, this has happened, and we mustn't do this, we mustn't do that, and oh, now we've got to follow this, and we've got to follow that, and hold on a minute, that's rather spread rather a bit too quickly, but there's a positive version of that can be spread, and it's with real growth, both spiritually and physically. It can be demonstrated in nature. It can be demonstrated by us. We're a part of nature with a physical body, but there's a spiritual aspect that is also hopefully growing and expressing it as well. So it's reflected. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So this is going to be one spring to remember. Wow.
And from wildfires to wildflowers.
Yeah. Well, even in nature, ash with controlled burning it, the ash provides nutrients that help repair the soil.
Yep.
And nature is such a wonder. Now, we don't need to interfere with it. It will create it or restore it, replenish the earth. Go forth and multiply and replenish the earth. I don't actually remember it saying replenish it with more humans. That could be a misinterpretation. What it's referring to, replenish nature, helping nature, rather than working against it, replenishing the earth. It's the thought.
Interpretation, though, we are nature. Nature is us. It is a mirror reflection of everything, since whatever we are experiencing, nature reveals to us. It is mirrored in the way that the earth is when the earth is rumbling, it shows our inner anger. You know, what's unexpressed in us gets expressed elsewhere. And so we can look to nature to be reminded of the alchemy of life, that it's turning the lead into the gold, making the heavy light again. And the light will become heavy again. Like it literally is cyclical nature that, you know, you're going to have lush and green and everything's going to flourish and such. But then again, like we say, the cycle of life is the birth, the death, the rebirth process. I mean, that's all of the seasons. That's all they're representative of, is the cycle of life, is the whole process. And so from the wildfires come the wildflowers. The ashes replenish, you know, it's all nourishing. It's just a mindset shift. And even in ourselves, we are alchemists. So when something gets heavy, we have to take that, harness it, and turn it into our fuel and lighten up. So this burning, this whole phoenix phenomenon stuff that people talk about, again, the revelations are within you. The phoenix rising is the fire within you, burning out the excess, the stuff that's extraneous and does not serve you. That's the real revelation. The light is illuminating and the fire is burning it out. And so from within goes without. From within, we're clearing it out. When we clear it out in ourselves, it can only be the ripple effect causing the dominoes to fall as we are witnessing in the world around us. So the more that we ourselves are harnessing that and actually doing that work, emotionally, mentally, physically in our own lives, we are seeing it on the world stage. Because those of us who have intentional focus on building something different, changing the script, it's changing theirs. It can't not change their script because we are the ones who create. They just copy. They dictate. They're copycats.
I ask from this, what really is the Great Reset then? Because if they've reset us over and over again, because we've allowed them to reset us, but if we take control over it and change it and we reset it, I'm sure we can make a better job of it.
Mm-hmm. Right now, they're kicking and screaming because we're not complying. The most of us.
You know, everybody has to individually go through a great reset within inside themselves, and that's really like facing that shadow side, facing the parts of you that are fearful, the parts of you that feel vulnerable, feel scared, addressing it and realizing it's your own inner child, and just surround it in love and just split yourself in two almost. Or spread yourself out. So your lower self and your higher self are now talking, and you're observing both aspects of yourself. And the higher self is saying, look, I got this. You know you can trust me because we're connected. I've got your best interest at heart because you're not separate from me. We're one and the same. So, and then it's the inner child will then grow from that. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't need to be worried about that. It's resolved before I've not had to do anything to resolve it, really. It's just unfolding. But so why did I focus energy into worrying about a what if? Why didn't I just let it come? Ooh, I've got to be careful where I spend my time and energy.
Yep.
It's a very clever system in the way it's made to look so complex, and yet it's so simple. What a duality.
I was just thinking about what you were just saying about Phoenix and landscapes. I was just thinking about that Portugal landscape. You've got eucalyptus trees that burn just like that, and they're man-made, aren't they? Whereas the cork oak doesn't. Beautiful cork oak formed from the landscape, part of the landscape doesn't. And it's sort of teaching us something, isn't it, about nature knows best, really. Lovely though eucalyptus is, it's foreign to that area, and it burns like crazy, and it causes problems with the summer period. So when you get there, James, I'd check out what areas burnt, because they have had big forest fires in the last few years, but it only affected certain aspects of it. It didn't go down to the water courses. It didn't affect the cork oaks much. So
one of the narratives about these great explorers who brought all these plants back. Now it's like, well, why did they really bring some of these things back then? Because that sounds like they know they're not compatible to grow there, but they know they can grow there, but they know they can cause fires. That's really sneaky. They're tinkering with nature a little bit there. That's very naughty. Bad show.
Yeah.
Well, there is purpose in everything, and it's not to say that anybody brought them there to be sneaky. Let me put it this way. My grandmother was Portuguese. She always had the eucalyptus growing out at the front of the house where my dad is now, because eucalyptus wards off the evil spirits. It is cleansing. It's another form of sage. So the reality is, if you think about it, that if that is happening, when a fire happens, there is an energetic cleansing going on. And I was sharing with my dad the other day, because we forget about the vortexes of energy with the earth. That I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but you know how a big business, like one of these big corporations, they'll own a plot of land where they have a business, They'll be highly, highly successful. They will literally deplete that vortex, that coordinate, that point of its energy.
Yeah.
When that business has taken all it could get and it ups and moves, every business after that business fails. They're unable to get any literally lift off the ground. If you think about it, this is all energetics. This is all frequency. And so this is something to point out about history. These entities, whatever the heck you want to call them, I don't really want to give them a negative or a positive connotation. They just are. These businesses, they go in, they suck it dry of the energy, vampires, right? Parasites. And this is just part of nature, but nothing goes in to replenish it. So when you look at things like eucalyptus or any tree that sacrifices itself for the cleansing of that space, we don't do this. And that's a lost antiquity. That's a lost healing art, to replenish the earth of the energy that was stolen and taken without giving back. Good example, all the GMOs like corn that don't actually give back to the earth. You know, so many of the one crop farming has depleted the earth of its nutrients, and none of these monocrops have actually replenished and given back. I think cannabis is a good example where you can grow it and it cleans out the toxins in the earth and it gives back. Whereas so much of this is a lost art. I'm just speaking from an intuitive sense and knowing that my grandmother knew that the energies of the eucalyptus at the front door also cleansed whoever came to that door. So somebody comes to enter your house, they're only going to be of good spirit and character if you've already set that energy with things like eucalyptus and sage and such. I can tell you right now, years ago when I first started on renovating my back building, which took a back seat, I had really weird experiences. This is Florida, so we get a lot of flybys. We got people who take advantage. They'll show up one day and not show up the next day. If you pay them too soon or you give them all the money, they disappear. They never come back to finish the work. So you got to know what you're dealing with. I went back in the building and I took sage because I was having really weird experiences. I took sage and I intentioned and I spoke mantra to reinfuse and to clear out all the energies of what craziness had come in and was occurring. I tell you what, the one guy never came back. The second guy left his tools and never came back, and I owed him money. So it's pay attention to these things, that when you start clearing and reclaiming your own power, your own energy, people disappear for a reason. And never discount that nature always knows how to clear house. Nature knows exactly how to clean house. Like you were pointing out about the dandelions, it will replenish the earth of the calcium. It will draw up the water. It will find the water source, even in the clay. All of these different herbs and everything that people think are weeds, and now we've been conditioned to think they're weeds, so we have to use some sort of a chemical alteration to destroy it. It's like, no, that they're serving a purpose. They always are. It's, again, are you going to deplete the energy of the earth by using something that destroys it as opposed to giving back to it? Like I have a whole compost pile out in my back corner and I'm constantly adding to the pile. It's giving back to the earth. You have to remember that what you take, you have to also give back to. And as we want to believe that we want to leave things better than when we found them. And that's like in anything in life. When you go into an environment and you have the intention set that I want to leave this space better than I showed up to it, whether you're serving in a community, you're building something, whether you're doing an event or a festival and you clean up after yourself, or whether or not you make a person feel better than when you first encountered them. You know, the impressions that we leave with each other, the impressions we leave in people's hearts. You want to leave people better than when you found them, and everything else.
I didn't know about eucalyptus trees the way you just described them. I love trees, by the way, absolutely love them, but I didn't know they have a sort of spiritual component, you're saying. As all trees do, I know, but they have this sort of protective element. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And interestingly enough, one of the most beautiful, we have them down here in Florida, and they probably have them in Portugal. We have a rainbow eucalyptus that's absolutely gorgeous. Like when you see the bark, there's all these shades and like rainbow colors going through it. And when the bark comes off, the colors are revealed.
Wow. As well as all the smells, of course, they give off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love the smell of eucalyptus. When I was visiting over there and I was with Julia, I was like taking in deep breaths, because what did we use eucalyptus for? To clear your lungs, to clear your breath. Eucalyptus is used in the Vicks Vapo Rub and all that, as well as is it not spruce? What's the other one? You can put it on. There's another oil that you use. It'll clear your sinuses.
Pine, sort of pine.
It's not pine. It's cedar, cypress.
Oh,
Cypress,
yeah.
Cypress is really good if you ever have like your nose and your sinuses are so clogged you can't breathe. If you have a little bit of cypress, you put it on just at the very bridge where the fleshy part is at the nose, and you put just a little bit on both sides. It doesn't bother your eyes like the other ones do, but it literally will give you like open sinuses. And I learned that years ago with a girlfriend of mine when we were always playing with essential oils. But eucalyptus itself, it opens the lungs. There's your spirit, there's your heart. So it's so beneficial in so many ways. If you've ever been to the wet saunas, a lot of times they'll use eucalyptus. You've got I've had lavender, eucalyptus. I love cedar. Cedar's always lovely. But there's always these benefits, and they're right there in our face, literally.
So they were planted in Florida like they were in Portugal. Aren't they from Australia originally, I think? So presumably.
I don't know. No. You never know. Again, it's all that history we've been told that we're not sure that is even true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Thinking about it, retract what I said earlier about eucalyptus. I take it all back, because it wouldn't grow there if it wasn't meant to grow there. So
yeah,
I stand corrected on that, because I don't know. So what a wonderful, I've learned something today. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I stand corrected. I'm sorry too. I was thinking a bit negatively about the effects on the fires, and that they weren't from that area, but yeah, good point.
I suppose I was sort of shocked, because I sort of got this picture of trees bursting into flames, and it's like, oh dear, because then I fell into a negative there.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do.
Yeah.
But at least we found it already. That's good. It's like back to center. It's like, hang on a minute, nature knows best. Don't try and correct it. Don't uproot them. Don't anything. If they're growing there, they're growing there because they can grow there. Because nature would make they didn't grow there if they were a problem. So yeah, they're serving a purpose, definitely.
I mean, they're there of their own right, of course, but it's good to have all these extra things that, like Lani just described, just adds to the appreciation of the tree. So when you're out there, James, you'll be when you see the eucalyptus, you'll have a whole thing with it, if you know what I mean, whole relationship around it.
Well, I've only got to look especially in the dry weather in the summer, and you see how much dust and grit is collecting at the edges of the roads, and it's like that's in the air. So I feel it's pretty safe to say that will be a much cleaner air. I'll feel the benefit from that. I'll be able to smell nature again. It's like I've forgotten what that smells like, really. Because when you're in a town, it loses a lot of it because there's less of it. But you go out in the countryside and it feels so different. And I count myself lucky because the route where I walk into town is pretty much tree lined all the way. It could be a lot worse than it is. So I've got these little reminders being presented.
Mhm.
So it's not all bad, but it's the contrast. But I love, sorry, I was going to say, just to finish, just observe like every street, normally in the corners by the garden wall, there's always something manages to grow through. It's against all odds, it pushes through concrete. And it's like, well, if nature could take this back so easily, you've only got to look at South America and all these civilizations that they're now finding with LiDAR that they didn't even know were there because it's reforested. Nature would take anything back. It's very forgiving, clearly, from that. But what wonders have there been? That, who knows? But I feel it's more draw a line in the sand and say, right, from today, we're going to do it this way instead of that way. And then just build upon that. So each day is a reset as well, really. It's an ongoing process of growing and improving and creating, learning as we go, not seeing just the negatives. Well, if there's a negative of that, where's the positive as well? Then I can
Adding to our toolbox. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, well, I can see the negative, so now I need to see, let's compare that, and I can find the positive by looking at the negative, because I can untwist it. Now I'm informed, with the emphasis being on the in, because you're forming it inside yourself as a thought, and then you create from that thought.
Mm.
So that's why it really does need to be weighed up. The positive, the negative, like a neutral path to it. Yeah.
So while you were speaking, I was going to speak up and tell you it was 2:11, but then you kept going. So it was 2:11 and then 2:12. But anyway, what I wanted to also share on top of that, as we with our open eyes and awareness, the more that we invoke that inner child, and basically when we play, we find the joy, the beauty. We really like bask in the gratitude. The more we're playing, the awareness of the numbers, the universe is like surprised and delighted to surprise and delight us, bringing us back into that present awareness, that moment. Every time we play, we reawaken and enliven and reinforce our inner child so that it does not feel abandoned or rejected. It's us healing the inner child through play. The interplay of life is the point. That the real truth of the matter is we're all children that just grew up into adult bodies. That our inner child has always been there saying, hey, let's just play more. The more you play, the more you heal. The more you find fun, beauty, laughter, joy, no matter what it is. That is you healing your inner child. That is the interplay of life. The game of life is interplay. It's enter the play. We know it's a show. You know all the world's a stage. You're here to play. See the game? See the joke? Ha ha. It's not just playing a role. It's play. It's fun. So again, there's duality in everything. There's polarity. It's showing you in the words. So instead of playing the game in the sense that you feel you have to fake it, the funk, you play with it. You make fun with it.
Yeah. And it's become such a different experience like that. Even with the technology, like, how do I get around the sensors with this one? How can I say it? That's a bit of fun. Even the statistics, I see that as a bit of fun. I don't take it seriously. I take it as a rough guide. I don't know if it's true or not, the statistics that I'm given. But I can still take from it, well, how did that video that I'd made before compare with this one? Have I said it better than last time? And that's all I use it for, really. The competition is within myself over the previous 10 videos so the next one is better than the previous one. Sometimes I don't get it right. It can be the title, time of day that it's uploaded. all kinds of factors come into this, but it's out there and it's done, and it's planted a seed, and then I can say that the number of views is like, how big is that video? It's like a virtual tree. How far has that one grown? How big has it got? But I don't worry about it. It's like onwards and upwards. Just create another one as and when something comes, and I feel this is something worth sharing, I'll make a video. I won't tie myself to a particular day. It's just the information just seems to come in the moment, and it's like the video. It ended up as 2 videos today. One I'm holding back. I'll upload later. Give the first one a fair chance, and then yeah, and when something else comes along, it's like, yeah, I feel that's worth sharing. I'll share my perspective on it and what it reveals. So it's been songs today. And ironically, or not ironically, really, it's another beautiful presentation. It's focusing on the songs of Dr. Feel Good. Well, that's what we all want to do, don't we? Feel good. So,
as in the artist, as in the musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will go as far, and I don't care if anybody else dismisses it. I met Wilco Johnson. I think it was about October 2013, and I shook his hand, and it felt like an electric shock went up my arm. And I thought, oh, something's wrong. 2 months later, it was announced that he'd got terminal cancer, 10 months to live. I thought, I'm not having that. And I put this intention, without even knowing what I'm doing, that he's pulling through this. No way is he going yet. He got 7 more years. He bounced back. He had pancreatic cancer, experimental surgery. It had started to wrap around the heart, and Roger Daltrey said it was amazing. It just peeled like an orange skin. Before he knew it, he's back up on his feet. He's doing what he loved. He's performing. He got 7 more years of enjoying what he loved about life. And I don't think you'll meet, I don't think I've ever met a more human musician, shall we say. I've got a playlist, and he talks openly about his cancer. He said, "I'm not worrying about it. I'm not doing anything about it," because he lost his wife to cancer, and that still affected him. But he wasn't going to go through chemo just to get possibly 2 months extra. He just sort of basically, oh well, I'll carry on. And he said you had this euphoric feeling. You suddenly appreciate life in that moment. It's like, this is the last time I see this. This is the last time I experience this. And you just appreciate every moment. And I feel that he got that feeling that pulled him through. Maybe I had nothing to do with it, but my wish and my intention was that he was able to get through it, and cancer is not going to take him. So he was nearly 76, I think, 75 or 76. He passed 21st of November last year. So he had a pretty good innings, and he certainly played in Glasgow earlier in that year. And it's like, wow, 75 years old, and he's still playing, enjoying himself, doing what he loves doing. What could be better than that? He was given like a new lease of life. Everything. Rudolf Steiner talks about things going 7, so it's like, well, 75. He's had a good run. Maybe it's his time, and I don't mourn his passing because I can appreciate the music that still lives. Music needs musicians to keep it live. It's the only art of all the arts that, if it's just on a score sheet, it's not doing anything. It needs living beings to play it. That's what I feel makes art the highest of all the art. And what it expresses and how you can feel from a piece of music is like, wow.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of, he was talking, wasn't he? It was quite a lot of stuff in the media, and he was saying how vivid everything was, literally down to the bricks on a wall or something like that. He described everything. Just was incredible.
Beautiful way he said it. It was genuine. It was from the heart. It was just like, wow. It's like the irony of this. Years of not really any recognition or fame since the Dr. Feelgood days. He sort of vanished into obscurity, nearly gave up. And now he's got this terminal cancer. He's suddenly getting publicity. Oh, let's cash in on the fear, the negative of it. But some beauty came out of it. And there's a beautiful film that they actually make in 2014. And at the start of the film, he's saying, by the end of this year, I'll be dead. Well, he didn't. And you see this unfold in this film.
Yeah, I know the album you released with Roger Daltrey was massive, wasn't it? A huge hit. In the UK anyway, probably not America, but it was over here. Certainly
as far as what Roger Daltrey says about it on videos on YouTube, he said, that album this collaboration we're going to do, and apparently Wilco said to him, well, you better make it quick. I've only got 5 or 6 months to go.
Yes.
And so he sort of, I think he was surprised how that sold and how much he was loved and appreciated. It suddenly all bloomed. There was actually some real beauty out of that cancer. There was beauty in destruction. It's just, how do we see it? Because he could have just died from the cancer and that was it. But no, he had this second wind. He was reborn and given a second chance to carry on entertaining people. He's benevolent. But he's such a genuine man. Just hearing him on the interviews and talking to him in person, shaking his hand and that, and just having an ordinary conversation. And he was just so down to earth. No sort of, I'm a rock star and you've got to look up to me. He was approachable. And that's what I liked about him as well. Mm. And it's blues. It's rhythm and blues. Blue is the color of divine feminine. Rhythm and blues is always like down on your luck, real life. But there's a deeper meaning below that surface level of that music. It's revealing a hell of a lot. Like that song, She Does It Right. It's talking about the divine feminine side of the brain. She works hard every night just to make me feel all right. Tells me not to worry, and there ain't a single trouble in sight. It's like, don't worry about them. The subconscious will supply. It's an esoteric meaning in that song. And Wilco would say he's an atheist. He doesn't believe in an afterlife or God or anything. But he was expressing it in that film. It's like, this is profound spiritual esoteric wisdom that he's sharing and doesn't even know that he's sharing that, because he's an artist. He's a medium of this creativity that it's being expressed through him. This is the thing with all artists. They didn't write that song with a coded message or even know it's a coded message. They're an expression of something. They're the physical expression that manifests it into this reality, but it's something beyond any one of us. It's beautiful how it just permeates through, and then one day you hear that same song you've heard 100 times before, and a light goes on, and it's like, wow, there's a message in there I'd never heard before, and yet I've heard this song so many times. What's changed? The song's not changed, but what I'm hearing has. Ooh. And pretty much every song, every book, every film, everything, it's all showing a story. It's so magical. That is the big picture.
Wow. That might be a good time to end.
Yeah. Good idea. Good idea. You're the host, aren't you, Lana? So yeah, I'll leave.
It's been about 3.5 hours.
Oh wow. Well, it's been great chatting with you, Lana, for the first time, knowing you from the channel and the text comments and messages. So that's been great. And great, James, speaking to you again. I don't know if she's doing any one on Saturday. Julia might be doing that. She is doing one on Saturday at 3 p.m. UK time, Lana, if you're...
That's a challenge for me, just because I'm in the middle of something when she does the 3 p.m. is 11 o'clock my time. 9? No, it's like 9 or 10 in the morning my time. And what ends up happening is I'm already like in the middle of things that I can't break away. And I don't know if you're doing the errant, if you're doing the group thing and you're trying to manifest, I don't want to come interrupting it either. So.
Yeah, I don't think she'd mind, would she, James? If you come in when you can come in, I know she likes that time. You know, for her in Portugal and everything else, it sort of fits well for her. Yeah.
I think at the moment that would be 11 o'clock your time, because I think we're about 4 hours difference. But we've got the clock change to go through sometime soon, so it'll go to 5 hours again.
Ah, that might be why I was unable to attend before. Because it was at 10 o'clock my time, and now it's 11. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's next Sunday, actually. I think the last Sunday in March we go back, so it'll be next Sunday will be the last Sunday this month, and that'll be the one when the time goes back again. Or forward, you know what I mean? It'll be 5 hours, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, I will see if I can fit this Saturday then. And I appreciate both of you. Thank you to anyone who's listened to this live, because my guess is that Julia will put it up. We didn't anticipate going this long, and we started out, and we should have started the recording in the very beginning, but this is a pretty good bunch of nuggets from all of us for sure. So have a blessed day. Thank you. Lots of love. Keep your mind focused on what it is you want to desire or create, manifest, because your words, your thoughts, everything, your currency, you are creating at all times.
Was it Julia says, always help others when you can?
Yes.
More than that, I can't remember the rest of it off the top of my head, but yeah, it's certainly more powerful and will come a lot quicker when it's in service of others.
Well, knowing that what you do for yourself, you do for another. So you're never just doing for yourself if you're working on you.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording.
Yeah. Bye.